Hello and welcome to Take 10. I'm Jennifer Johnson. With us in the studio today is John Manis, the Board of Education student member of the board. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
So tell me, you just were elected to the Board of Education, right, as the student member?
I was last spring.
Last spring you were elected. What made you run for this? Why did you want to do this?
I think I got involved at a very early age, but I think what I started to discover was real change happens on the political side of things and the policy side of things, and the more work that I did and the deeper I got involved, I saw that through collective action and getting people together, it's really easy to make change and get things done.
Tell me about student advocacy. What is it about it that intrigues you? How do you get more kids involved?
I think it's always how you spin things, right? And I think that a lot of times people have this perception that the only people who get involved are, the SGA kids or the ones who are, really heavily involved in a lot of other extracurriculars. But I think the key thing to remember is it's how you spin it to people. It's the perception, right? No kid is going to come up to you and say, tell me about the operating budget or the capital improvements program.
Right.
But the moment you say your soccer field is getting a change to it, it's going to become artificial turf, or all of a sudden this math class is going to be, the curriculum's changing completely, you really do start to engage students, and it's a big bottom-up approach, and it takes a lot of effort from not only the student member of the board, but a lot of other leaders at the schools and at home and around the community.
What have been the big hot-button issues for you as the student member of the board?
Oh, we've had everything. I've had a great opportunity this year to be in on everything from high school starting times, which is starting up this spring. School lunches has been a big debate around the student sphere. I was actually just at a meeting a couple of weeks ago with the Montgomery County Junior Councils, which is the middle school version of MCR, so they handle most of the middle school student government type things, and they had brought up the issue of wanting to use cell phones during lunch, just like their high school counterparts, and especially with the budget and not wanting reductions in classes and quality and all of these different things, there's so many different things that are going on, and even more as we head into legislative session in Annapolis.
Are they considering later starting times? Is that being discussed?
I think everything's on the table. I think we're starting the discussion with the superintendent. He put together a work group, and I'll be serving. I think our first meeting is coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to providing some of the student views for that, and I've been reaching out and talking to a lot of my peers and other groups to try to see how we could possibly solve the problem.
Yeah, when kids come to you, they say, look, we're really interested in this, or this is what's not working for us as students. What are some of those things? Start times, I know, I have two high schoolers, that's an issue. I've recently had a spray bottle to get mine, a spray bottle of water to get mine up, so I understand that.
I think my mom would have greater experiences even from me. But I think, we're so fortunate that we live in such a digital age now. I mean, we have social media, and more people are moving away from even email, but I probably get, 100, 200 emails a day, from not just students, from people around the community on various topics, various issues. I get social media blasts all the time. It's really great. You can connect so easily. People will just get up and message me 10 o'clock at night. They'll be working on homework and they'll say, hey, what are we doing about the math curriculum in middle school? I really feel like there's work that could be done there, and again, maybe it won't be worded that way, but
right.
it's really up to me, and that's kind of what I see as my job, is to really try to bring an informed youth voice to the board. So I'm taking a lot of these concerns, I'm trying to find what the real problem is behind these concerns, and then, of course, do the best that I can to try to bring it to the attention of the rest of the board and the rest of MCPS.
Are you finding that more and more kids are getting engaged, are interested in these things? Once you start saying, we're talking about start times, school lunches, artificial turf, are you getting more of them to be engaged?
Oh yeah. I think, and it's the same thing with adults as well. I think people have this automatic perception of the youth in past days, and I only wish people would think of that automatically when they see youth. They think of Berkeley or these other instances of students becoming very activist, and I feel like all too often people have this perception that it's all about staying at home and playing video games or not being involved and not doing these things. But I think people are very acutely aware, and I think the problem is not so much their information base or their knowledge base. I think it's tapping their desire to do that, and I think it's the same way when you're in a classroom, or from conversations that I've had with teachers. It's everybody has an innate knowledge or an innate desire to want to learn something, but yet there's still people who don't pay attention in class, right? So everyone has an innate desire to be involved, have a say, have their voice heard, but it's tapping that, giving them the motivation to believe that they really can go somewhere with it.
Well, how do you go about informing the students? I'm so old. Are you tweeting? Are you Facebooking? Is that how you inform the other students of what you're doing?
We do. I have a team of about 20 people on my student advisory council. They're all students, both middle and high school students. They applied through a fairly competitive application process. They all want to be there. They all want to be doing what they're doing, and they all have a real push and desire to inform their peers, and I have a desire to inform my peers. So I've been working really hard on Twitter and Facebook recently. I run a blog called SMOB365. Which I post up a picture every single day of what it is that I do, whether it's sitting at home on a Sunday afternoon, reading through a couple of memorandums, or it's attending an all-day board meeting, whatever it is. And I try to spin it in a way that students would appreciate. So if we have a long board meeting, talking about procurement or legal things or whatever it is, you spin it in a way that they can relate to, and I can get comments and feedback really easily, because I think one of the greatest questions, there's been 35 years of the position of student member of the board, and people always ask during campaign season. I visited tons of schools. People always say, well, what is it that you do? I mean, we see you during campaign season, and then all of a sudden you fall off the grid and we never hear from you again. How do you engage? And it's so very different than an SGA would engage, or any other club or organization, or even an adult in politics would engage. So I think by doing this, it's a real easy way to say, hey, take a look at this. And for people who are interested in running, it's a great way to see exactly what it entails and what the responsibilities are. And I think it's a great way also for criticism too. People can see it. People can see what you're attending, what you're saying, your comments and such, and can really be able to interact with you more closely that way.
Yeah, and so it's called SMOB365?
That's correct. That's
Excellent.
correct.
So do you actually go to all the Board of Education meetings? Are you allowed to vote, or is it like a ceremonial vote? How does that work?
No, it is a vote. It's a partial vote. We've been working pretty hard in Annapolis. I actually started, that was one of the first things that got me involved in student government to begin with, was the fight for full voting rights. We have a vote now on everything except for budget, collective bargaining, school openings, closings, and issues of redistricting. So we do have votes on policy matters. We have votes on, I would say if you look at the agenda, somewhere between 60 and 70% of the things I do have a vote on. So I'm pretty fortunate, and I always make a case to vote regardless if it's ceremonial or not. I want to make sure that the youth voice is represented in some way, and I certainly comment on things and attend the budget work sessions, even though I may or may not, or I don't have a vote. But we're certainly fighting for those full rights. We've been in Annapolis for many, many years. We've had the full support of the board through and throughout, and a lot of other county agencies have been really supportive of our push. So hopefully someday that realization will come true.
Has the operating budget taken up a lot of your time, or is there another issue that's really dominating?
I mean, it shifts with the season. I mean, springtime is very heavy in the operating budget, and there's a lot of work that it takes to comb through the many hundreds of pages and to try to pick out the things that are the changes, and like I said, the things that apply to students. But there's so many different things that are going on, and I think that's one of the things that I've really discovered time management-wise through my time on the board, is that there's always something, and generally there's more than just one thing. So you have to really be able to pick and choose your fights, pick and choose what's going on, and the work that you do in order to best keep students involved and informed, because that's the goal. I mean, if you find an issue or you're working on something that sparks an interest of another student, then that's a job well done.
Have you been, I don't want to say better, but have you been more effective in communicating with your students, with the student body, because you are so involved in the social media? Do you think you've tapped into that in a better way? I
think so. I think people have really clicked onto it a little bit more. I think it's a faster and a simpler way of doing it than it's been done in the past, but there's always so much room for improvement. I mean, every year I think the student member tries to push the limit a little bit farther, right? They take what's been done in the past, they identify what's worked, they isolate what's not worked, and then they use all of that to push things forward. And I think some of the other initiatives I've been working really hard this year, we've got mocostudent.org, which is a completely student-run countywide press network where different schools can submit individual press pieces from their school newspapers to inform students around the county. I've been working with another organization, the Montgomery County Students Coalition, to try to bring together both MCR and MCJC, these countywide advocacy groups, along with many other National Youth Association, a lot of other youth advocacy groups around this central idea of making the youth voice larger and really making sure that we're represented alongside of MCEA, MCCPTA, SEIU, all of these other groups.
I love it. That's great. John, thank you very much. That's really good information, and good luck in your future political
Thank you
career.
so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. Remember to visit us on the web at the link on your screen. I'm Jennifer Johnson. Join us next time here on Take 10.